Holy shit, it's good to be here at 313. I don't know if you guys know this. It's called 313, not because of the area code, but because at the end of most shows, there's only a table of three. It is Wednesday. I am at home this week. I did 313 comedy on Sunday. No shows during the week. Till tomorrow, I have one night stands in Waterford, Michigan. But since I'm at home and the boys are asleep, I thought I'd show you how I send out my availability to get booked. Here's the situation. My laptop, a brand new MacBook in 2020, worked great. Out of nowhere one day, the motherboard got fried. Don't know how it happened. It was in its case in my backpack. Got this one. Sai let me borrow an old laptop they had lying around. Very generous. It worked great for a while up until about a month ago. The screen stopped working. I don't know what happened. It was just one day it was working fine, the next day not. What I have to do now is hook it up to a TV. This is the only way that I can use it. So that is what I'm doing. I'm gonna send out my availability. And again, do not wake up my sons. Don't scream. Do not scream. Okay. Start from the bottom. Now I'm here. Subject, avails. Let this damn cat out. I usually do the best ones first in the event that I get distracted. Since I already did Acme this year, that is off the plate for about 6 to 12 months before I start emailing them about getting booked again. And the more familiar I am with the person, the sillier I allow the emails to be. Like Sam at Hilarities. Every time I come, we hang out till 3, we talk comedy, feeds me drinks, tells me I'm his #1 favorite bad boy. It's a lot of fun. I copied and pasted from the last time I sent them, and I booked some dates since then. So I have to do this. A friend of the show, Andy Woodhull, one time told me that the way to do it is this format here. Week of, and then you list the Monday date, and then say Monday to Sunday. I used to change it depending on how the club worked. That is very tedious, and sometimes they want to book an off-night show where they don't normally have people. I just booked a weekend in 2026, so I will still be a comedian in 2026 as far as I'm aware. Is the pay great? It is not. Am I looking to replace it with something better? I most certainly am. But it is a bookmark. I used to fine tune it for every club. I would see what days they normally book. Some clubs do Wednesday to Saturday. Some clubs do Thursday to Sunday. Some clubs do Thursday, Saturday. Some clubs do Friday, Saturday. Some clubs do Tuesday to Saturday or Sunday. So I would change those every time, but one, it's a little tedious, and two, sometimes clubs are looking for off nights. Let's say a TikTok celebrity or like someone who was on Saturday Night Live who's doing a tour and found a route through that city, wants to do a show on an off night, they do that. And what I've realized is that 9 times out of 10, they don't even look at these. Some do. I've heard that the Funny Bones, there's about 11 of them throughout the country, and they're also tied into the improv, so there's a bunch of those. Somebody told me that they actually look to see how many weeks you have available, because if you're booked a lot, you tend to be a better comic, and so they judge that before they book you. Another thing is that they switch bookers. The new booker doesn't really know me. So I live in Michigan. It's a 4-hour drive to Columbus. I haven't auditioned for that new booker. He just knows I've worked Funny Bones in the past, so I'm not a hot priority for them, which I totally get. I mean, out of sight, out of mind is definitely a huge thing in comedy. That's why young comics, I always recommend getting into comedy. You're gonna wanna hang out all the time. For that face and name recognition, sometimes opportunities come out of nowhere. I tell this story all the time that Geofftate was working the door at Go Bananas, and he was a door guy. He was middling a lot at the time, but on his off weeks would work the door, and Mike Birbiglia came into town. There wasn't a feature booked because he thought the club booked one, the club thought he was gonna bring one. He gets there 20 minutes before the show, there's no feature. So they go to Jeff, Jeff says yes, Jeff features that weekend, and Mike ends up loving Jeff. So he brought him on the whole secret public journal tour. A lot of opportunities, a ton of stage time. Hanging out has so many benefits, even if you're a more established guy. When I was featuring on the road a lot, but still living in Cincinnati, I was at the club on a Tuesday afternoon. Doug Stanhope was in town, and they go, hey, we don't have a feature. Do you want to have a feature for Doug Stanhope this weekend? And I got this feature for a comedy legend, and it was great. So always hang around. If you don't have a family, if you don't have other shit going on at home, be there. Because aside from those things, you also get to watch other comedians who do stand-up differently, and you can learn so much. You know, you can take their full life. No, you can take a little thing that they do and be like, oh, I can use something like that in the bit about my dad, or, oh, that's so funny. That kind of goes along with one of the bits that I have. Maybe I can structure this bit in a way similar to what they did. It helps so much when you're starting out. Do your homework, do your research, and everybody should do the research. Let's party. Now that I have found all my old seats, Command C, that's copy. Now the rest of this should fly by. Zanies is another one. Zanies is based out of Chicago. When I lived there, there was 3 of them there. They're now down to 2, but when I lived there, I worked there all the time, probably 3 to 4 weekends a year featuring at the clubs. Had a great relationship with them. Once again, the booker that I knew left, and then it was kind of scattershot. I ended up headlining their main club in downtown Chicago in 2021. I had a great weekend, fully open post-COVID. It was so much fun, and then I just haven't been back since. They went through another booker who is based out of their Nashville club. She's great. I actually met her opening for Segura 10 years ago. But again, out of sight, out of mind. She hasn't seen me in 10 years. I have a sneaky suspicion that she is married to a comedian who looks a lot like me. Maybe there's a competitive thing of like, oh, you're gonna take weeks away from this is the crazy thoughts that go through a comedian's head. Another thing about 95% of the time, you don't get an answer. I haven't gotten an answer from any of these people, which is why I'm still emailing them, continuing to send emails to people who ignore you. That's the life of comedians. That's the rejection side of this that nobody sees. That's life, Daddy. I'm Daddy. That was the first time I said that out loud, but the idea that I thought that a booker isn't booking me because I look like her husband and she doesn't want to take weeks away from him is one of the craziest things I've ever thought. But again, when you're dealing with 95% rejection rate, it's tough. It's tough as hell. Not just every so often. I mean, it's been almost 20 years at this point of doing this. I am now writing to the former Zanies booker who now works at a different club in Vegas, which is so sweet, and I would love to come back to that. If I'm asking to open for somebody, it helps to say like, oh, I would love to work any week, but my friend's gonna be in town this week. Can I do that week with him? And that is what I'm doing right now. It would be awesome to go back to this club in Vegas and work with my buddy, Josh Sneed, who I just saw this last weekend, and my kids are up. In case you can't tell, I grew up with computers. I can type 50 to 60 words a minute. Not to brag, but I am Microsoft Office user certified in Word 2004. That's right. So suck on that. If you got any data entry jobs you need help, holla at your boy. So I am going to send this last email before I check on them. This is one to a booking agency called Comedy Zone. They book a couple of clubs, but a lot of just random stuff, like a back room of a bar show all throughout the South. I did a gig in Columbus, Georgia for them, in Fort Walton Beach, Florida at a dueling piano bar. They book a comedy club at the Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas, and they book you 2 weeks back to back. So I did 2 weeks with Andy Woodhull there a bunch of years ago. I'd love to get back in with them. They book a lot of stuff in Florida, and anytime I can book a Florida show, I want to go see my mom. That helps me do that for free and make money. Not for free, but make money. Hey boys. What are you doing? I got a little more work to do in the other room, and then we'll make some lunch, okay? Let's see how long this will last. Emailing the Helium bookers. They have about 6 clubs throughout the country. Those are nice because it's potential for a lot of work, more than 1 week. Most of these are a single comedy club, which means you only work there once a year. And if you're headlining 12 to 18 months, sometimes people do 24 months, sometimes you don't get on the schedule. Somebody explained it to me at some point that every club only has 52 spots every year. It is tough. There are thousands of comedians working in the United States. To be one of those 52 is tough. And a lot of people love to bring people back. They love to discover new people. A lot of people want to get the biggest names they possibly can. For someone like me to break in is hard. For the clubs I like, for the clubs that like me, that is a guaranteed spot every year. Go Bananas, for instance. Acme is about every 2 years. By all accounts, they seem to like me. Psyched about that. Know if we can get more local guys to like me. There is a club in Detroit that books the entire following year in 1 week, which is so insane because they're booking up to 16 months in advance. It makes it super hard to get in there. And it is a great, great club. It's one of my favorite clubs. It's right here in Detroit. That's the way they do it. And it's frustrating, but you gotta play by their rules because it's their club. For reference, most clubs book 3 to 4 months in advance because, like I said, people change. Also, comics get canceled, comics quit. A lot of stuff can happen. A couple of these are places I've never worked, like a full weekend. Comedy Fort being one of them. Great, great club in Fort Collins. There's Theo. Yeah, I hear you, Theo. Who's there? She hears knock knock. All right. Clearly, I have to just knock this out at this point. So let's do it.
Well, it's not like we don't try. It's worth it every single night. Don't let this house fall down. The Lord left long ago.
Man, this just goes to show, you dedicate yourself to your career. You bust your ass for 19 years, make sacrifices. And then 19 years later, you get outsold by an open mic 3-1 at your own show. That is rough.